So I was playing around on the creator side of things on YouTube called the Creator's Dashboard, and they're always adding new features. YouTube is one of the newest things they've added in is inspirations. An AI-driven tool, yeah, I know, that suggests ideas for creators from the content that our viewers watch and the content that we make. And just yesterday, when I was playing around with it, YouTube suggested that I see if it was possible to survive the intro nuke in Fallout 4. They're really overestimating my ability here to somehow get my hands on nukes to test out for a YouTube video. But jokes and stuff aside, what that did make me think of is, would the people outside the vault in Vault 111, well, of Vault 111, die straight away if the nuke were to actually go off the way it does in-game? Because we know there are people directly outside the vault. And from leaving 200 and some years later, we know that the area around the vault has been changed a little bit. Things have been moved, things have been brought in, taken out, that sort of thing. So it makes me wonder, would anyone in the direct area right there have survived this nuclear blast? So, what we're going to do first, well, the way it usually goes, before I go getting ahead of myself there, is you spawn in, right, Sanctuary Hills, do the whole intro thing. You run up to the vault when you get word that nukes are going off. You get on the platform, nuke goes off, shockwave starts coming toward you. Small amount of the shockwave hits you, you go down into the vault before the full-on blast wave comes in contact with you. And that's it, that's how you see it. A little known fact, Fallout 4, since not a lot of people do it, is you can spend pretty much as much time as you want in Sanctuary Hills. There's no time limit for the nuke to go off. There are triggers for the nuke to go off, though. If you try to leave via the bridge or a certain area around the neighborhood, I say town, neighborhood, the nuke automatically goes off and you die. Full stop. So no, you can't survive outside of the vault in the intro of Fallout 4. There you go. But this nuke going off is actually a different script and a different, how to put this, it's not the same event that actually goes off when you go down into the vault. It doesn't have the big lead up blast or anything like that. It's a flash and you're dead, pretty much, right? So it's not the same event. So what I did is I went digging around in the game files to figure out what step in the quest triggers that nuke to go off. Eventually found it. So what I did is I went up to Vault 111, stood outside of it, and set off the blast that is supposed to play when you leave town. It still kills you, and it's still just a quick flash. That doesn't really help us with anything. So, instead, I went through and I found the event ID for when the nuke goes off when you're going down into the vault. So I procced that. I made that go off. And when I did, when standing off of the platform lowered the way it would. Nuke went off the way it would too. We get to see the full blast as it is. I should have it playing behind me right now. You see from this blast that it's not just a small wave pressure that hits you. There's debris in this. Hunks of wood, a giant wall of ash just hits right over top of the vault. It's crazy that they went through all of this trouble and you don't really see any of it in the intro. Which is probably why they wanted to use the nuke so much that they put it in the wrong place. That was a video from last week or the week before. Hard to keep track. So that got me thinking, okay, you can't survive it outside of the vault because I'm guessing either the pressure wave or something kills you. But since I've tried to track down where this nuke went off, even though a lot of people say it's the Glowing Sea or the Cambridge Crater, neither of those places are where the nuke went off. Or that maybe it's far outside of the bounds of the map, which would be almost to the center south of where the map is before you would see in line with where the nuke went off, right? So I got to thinking, how big would a nuke have to be to hit where you are in Fallout 4 in the intro and kill you, right? How big would it have to be? I figured, okay, well, the target that makes the most sense here would be Boston proper. Makes sense. But just for shits and giggles, we'll also try where the glowing sea is, just to see. Now, you may not know this, but Sanctuary Hills does not exist, and neither does Vault 111. So instead, I figured I'd pick a nice, simple location that you can run to right in the beginning of the game, and that's the bridge. The Old North Bridge, to be exact. First shots of the Revolution, that sort of thing. Minuteman statue is by it. That's actually real. Not too far outside of Concord. That's where this is, right? And in the beginning of the game, you can run to that bridge. That's what procs the nuke to explode and kill you. And about the same amount of time, you can run to the vault. So both of them within running distance of the player's house. Small enough distance to say, we'll use that as our point, right? So, let's figure out how big the nuke had to be that hit Boston to be able to kill you up in Sanctuary Hills. So, we're going to use two different sites to figure out what type of nuclear weapon had to be used in the intro of Fallout 4 to be able to kill the player character up in Concord by the Old North Bridge, right? One website has more information, and another website is a lot more flashy in what it does. So we're going to run through just a couple of options here, simply because they make sense. They feel thematic, right? First one, like the smallest nuclear weapon the United States ever made, the Davy Crockett. You don't know what that is? It's it's pretty much a mini nuke launcher. It's actually a nuclear bazooka that they would strap to the side of a Jeep. They decided against it because, well, legend says, you were always within the blast radius of, like, the fallout radiation of it. So you couldn't possibly shoot it far enough from, like, a bazooka on the side of a Jeep to be able to get outside of its range. Actuality of it is, you can't trust a nuclear weapon to just a ground crew in a Jeep. Which, I mean, I wouldn't. Pretty sure Uncle Sam wouldn't either, so that makes more sense. So, smaller radius, you'll see the different rings. Green is radiation, like a reddish yellow is fireball, then like the heavy pressure blast zone, then the low pressure blast zone, and then the like thermal area of it all. Not too large for that one. And we'll bump it up to the nukes that the United States actually used in World War II. Fairly large, you know, not really large considered what we have today, especially out there in the world in some dark hidden place somewhere. But again, not massively large, and you'll see that none of these so far have had a pressure wave that can hit Sanctuary Hills. Which makes sense, it's actually quite a distance from Boston up to Concord where the Old North Bridge is. So, let's get more exotic. One of the larger warheads the United States has in production right now is called the Minuteman III, I think it is. And check that one out. As you can see, it's got an okay range on it. Still nothing that's going to touch up to Concord. So let's just skip ahead, right? We can go down through the list one by one, or we can just skip to the end here. Castle Bravo. I think that's the largest nuclear test the United States has ever done. Now we're getting somewhere. You would have a blast wave that hits Sanctuary Hills area from here, the Old North Bridge. But it's a low pressure blast zone, right? And that's the issue. Low pressure blast zone is like between 2 psi and less than 1. It would crack windows, maybe break some siding and stuff, depending on if it's like vinyl or not, especially depending on time of year. That's not the very large wall of ash and debris that's getting thrown up by the nuke we see in the beginning of Fallout 4. Okay, the only ones that are really bigger than this are the ones the Russians were working on once upon a time, the Tsar Bomba, and they had two versions of it, the 50 megaton one and the 100 megaton one. Megaton anyway. 50 megaton one, very large blast radius, same issue. Not enough pressure hitting you, right? You bump it up one, kinda, but not really, especially since we're going for ground bursts. Air burst, yeah, sure, you would have a hell of a shockwave hitting you there at the old North Bridge. But we know from Fallout lore that the one that hits, impacts, whichever word wants to actually come out of my mouth there, is a ground burst. Yes, I know nuclear weapons are usually air bursts. I know that. But in Fallout lore, most of the more exotic ones you see, most of the clouds and stuff, they like to reference ground burst ones. Because, again, the game series was originally made in like the 90s. People didn't really know how this stuff worked. Drop bomb, bomb hits ground, bomb goes off, right? So, that goes off. And, yeah, you'll get a massive shockwave out if it's an air burst. If it's a ground burst, not so much. A lot of it's just absorbed by the surrounding area. Like a moth. And that's it, right? Even if we step it up to the 100 megaton one, and it's a ground burst, we're not really getting the effect we want. But let's sidestep all of that. Pretty much no nuclear weapon in the world at this point in time is strong enough to kill a man on the old North Bridge if it goes off in Boston. Simple as that. Kinda, anyway. You wouldn't die the way you would think, and you wouldn't die instantly. Right? You wouldn't be got by the radiation, you wouldn't be got by the pressure. What would get you is if you were outside. If you were outside with a direct line of sight, like we are in the beginning of Fallout 4, the thermal ring, as it were, thermal blast ring, let's call it, blast radius. Anyone out that has skin exposed is going to get third-degree burns from that. Not instantly, mind you, but you'll die from it, especially in a Fallout scenario there. If you're inside, you're probably going to be fine. So yeah, no. The way you're probably going to actually die outside of the vault in Fallout 4 is from burns. Right? And if a nuclear weapon went off close enough to where you get hit by that significant wall of force like it's showing, first thing, big thing, none of the buildings would kind of exist anymore. Because that heavy blast zone demolishes everything, right? The moderate blast zone is still going to take down most residential buildings, some commercial ones, and reinforced concrete places. Be mostly okay, but most stick-built residential buildings are going to be gone. So maybe you survive that. Low pressure zone, you're going to be fine. Thermal blast radius, if you're not directly observing the light as it travels, probably not going to hurt you. So, yeah. Either the nuke was a lot closer than everyone thought it was, in which case I would have found the crater at some point. Or if it was even further away, like some people have been saying, then it's the strongest nuclear weapon to ever be detonated anywhere, right? Actuality of it is the issue of scale in video games. I've talked about this before. Like Cyrodiil in The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. It's a small place, a couple hundred NPCs at most. Actuality is Cyrodiil is supposed to be like the size of New York City. So, yeah, right. Issues with scale in video games. Diamond City is another big one that directly relates to Fallout 4 here. In lore, you got like 60 people. Not in lore. In game, you got like 60 people that live in Diamond City. In lore, you have between like 800 and 1,000 people that live in Diamond City. So, right. What I think actually happened in lore is that, like every other place that we've seen, Boston was just hit with a bunch of nukes. We already know other nukes hit the area, the glowing sea being one of them. But I'm guessing it was more along the lines of, especially since, again, made in the 90s, we see bombs like the ones in Megaton, which are like, the nukes from World War II. In the show, we see them, same thing. Same ones just drop down. They do have missile ones. The sub out in the bay has nuclear missiles and whatnot. Anyway, tangent aside there. What most likely happened was a bunch of these droppable bombs, or ones that could be shot out, made landfall, saturated the area. That's what you get. So there wouldn't be one massive nuke that goes off and levels everything, because if a Tsar Bomba style bomb hit Boston, Boston wouldn't exist anymore. It would just be a giant crater in the earth. If it was an airburst, it wouldn't be as bad, but there would just be nothing there anymore. So I'm guessing the nuke we see in the beginning is supposed to be one of the many nukes that hit Boston that just hit closer to the vault. So that would make more sense to me. Location-wise, it seems like it would have been one targeting Fort Hagen, because Fort Hagen is in the rough direction of where the nuke goes off. So, yeah. No, you can't survive the nuke in the beginning of Fallout, because you straight up die if you try to in-game. Out of game, in real life, you wouldn't probably even know really anything happened. Boston, if one single weapon went off like that, who knows? I've never been like 30 or 40 miles away from a nuke. I can't tell you what it looks like off in the distance. And if one big enough to cause a pressure blast in Concord like that did hit, you'd have much bigger problems. So one final tangent before we go. The amount of fallout that would be tossed up by the Tsar Bomba style nuke would pretty much saturate the planet with nuclear particles to some degree. Because, from what I read, could be wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments, the actual cloud itself would reach like 30, 40 miles up into the air, hit the jet stream, and then just disperse it across the fucking planet. It's crazy how scary some of these weapons are, and we probably have even stronger ones nowadays. So, there's that, I guess. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Figured I'd just make a riff on the weird AI YouTube stuff. They're kind of shoehorning it in wherever they want. Also, if you didn't know, because a lot of people don't, YouTube's algorithm a few months ago changed again to not care about subscribers again, or anymore. And now it's just interactions and likes and hype. Hype, interactions, and likes on videos that actually drive them in the algorithm. So the more interaction a channel gets, the more it's pushed. How that's not going to turn into a self-eating AI nightmare is beyond my know-how and understanding, but hey, apparently smarter people than me work for Google. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If this is your first or second time here, hope you enjoyed it. If this is your third time here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to stay updated on when I post. Words are hard sometimes. We have a Discord, link down below. We also have memberships, $1 a month, members-only videos, $2 a month, early access to all videos I post. Anything beyond that is just kind of a tip and thank you. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.